The collapse of the box office, especially for Disney, has shareholders talking. But now articles are coming out suggesting they not start walking away from the House of Mouse. Today we'll tell you what's going on behind the scenes as Disney tries to stop the panic surrounding a box office freefall that didn't start with Snow White, but perhaps goes back even farther and could go further into 2025. Despair at Disney? We've got the story right now. Hello, folks, and welcome back. It is a dandy of a day, and we are coming your way from somewhere sunny USA. The studio is powered by you. Folks, as we get ready to talk to you about the shares of Disney stock and why there's a lot of talk about what people should do, we give you no financial advice. It's not our job. But folks, we do want to talk about the articles covering this as people begin to realize, hey, subscribers are leaving. Streaming is in trouble. The parks are not looking so hot anymore. And now the box office has collapsed. Will they be able to put up the caution tape, slow people down? Can they turn that frown upside down? We'll tell you. Click the like button, and here we go. All right, folks, take a look at this story. It's out of the Motley Fool. It says there's more to Disney than Snow White this year. It's by Rick Muñariz. Muñariz, probably. And this is an article out of analysts that cover the stock market. It seems to me to exist to, what should we say here? To steady the boat, to ease the fears, to give pause to the cause of dropping your Disney stock. Here's what it says. It's not what Walt Disney was hoping for, but Snow White's lackluster theatrical debut over the weekend still leaves room for shareholders to go from grumpy to happy. The film grossed $43 million, 42, in domestic ticket sales and $87 million worldwide. Industry watchers were targeting at least $100 million in global box office receipts, and that figure had been pared back in recent months. Boy, had it. The market's first take on the live-action reboot's debut wasn't a deal breaker. Disney shares actually moved higher on Monday, closing above $100 for just the second time in the past 2 weeks. It was a generally buoyant day for stocks, but for the media giants, shares to rise despite a potential matinee misfire is a good sign that investors are looking beyond this film. This is still likely to be a good year for Disney studio business. You just have to disregard the occasional poisoned apple. In other words, don't sell, don't sell. Snow White reportedly cost a hefty $250 million to make. We'll leave that. I do want to point out that they get to Mufasa. And this is the most annoying thing to me, is that they continue to present Mufasa as if it's a win. It needed 750 to break even minimum. It's at 720. It's a flop. I'm so sick of this narrative that they run with. It's a flop. It lost money at the box office. It says, unfortunately for Disney, Snow White became a battleground stock. Remakes often take liberties with the original storyline, and the changes to this one didn't please some Disney purists. But guess what? Guess what the blame goes to again, and this out of the financials. The two main actresses also had some of their more polarizing past comments amplified anew on social media. Oh, really? Oh, really? Tell me more about that one. The film is clicking with those actually watching it rather than those who are blasting it with no intention of actually checking it out. A robust 74% of audiences members on Rotten Tomatoes recommend Snow White, and it has a respectable B+ cinema score. This is all propaganda, including the idea that two actresses were controversial. No, one was. But the goal here, the goal, folks, is to make sure, I believe, from the Motley Crew, that shareholders don't get scared. And by golly, if we have to say that audiences loved it, even as there's a 20% rating, 21% on Rotten Tomatoes, got to say what we got to do to keep the shareholders from moving on. And why? What is it they're trying to say that you should be excited about with Disney? Well, they're claiming that there's going to be enough movies to save the House of Mouse. It goes on to talk about how Captain America Brave New World wasn't a hit. Neither is Snow White, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay because Lilo and Stitch is on the way. Zootopia 2 and Avatar. The problem here, in my estimation, is that Lilo and Stitch is the exception to the rule. Zootopia, I'm not sure about. And if you're counting Freaky Friday as something that's going to save the day, well, I've got some bridges to sell you, not just one. And again, Avatar Fire and Ash, that's James Cameron. Disney just has a distribution deal. It's James Cameron that does Avatar: Fire and Ash. Motley Fool, though, getting into not Motley Crue, Motley Fool getting into the argument that Disney's going to be just fine. Everything's okay. Steady the ship. Don't jump off. You're going to be all right. Panel, what do you think? Should shareholders be in a panic over what they're seeing with the box office returns from Disney not looking good this quarter or next?
Well, I think if Disney had a series of major successes right before this film and then this happened, it wouldn't be such a cause for alarm. But this is not just an isolated incident. This is a downward trend. This is a sliding downhill path that the company has been on for a long time. And investors should be looking at that and being like, this company has no intention of changing, no intention of righting the ship. The people that are making these decisions are doubling down on failure, and how much more of it are we going to be able to put up with our money?
Listen, I'm with you, and I think that it's not just Disney that people need to start worrying about. What Disney and these other companies are doing is devastating to theaters as well. Yes. According to Rich Greenfield, the 2025 box office is now 40% below pre-pandemic levels, and we can confirm that. This is not sustainable, and this is why they're having to raise ticket prices to insane levels, is to make up for the fact that there aren't butts in seats, and it's a big-time problem. And what caused this? One, getting rid of the meritocracy by hiring people not based on their talent or abilities, but based on the idea that you've got to fill your employee staff rosters using a quota spreadsheet based on immutable differences. And then two, the idea you had to do the same with stories, where no longer did you pick out stories based on whether they were good, but whether or not they pushed your propaganda.
The movies are just kind of they're a predecessor to what's going to go on with the parks and what's going to go on with merchandising. The stock price, as you are putting on screen now is back above 100 after spending, I think, way too long below 100. Also not doing that well compared to where Disney should be at this point, considering that they were they about 100 when they bought Fox. So that $70 billion just gone at this point, despite all of that added value and all those Emmy awards that, everybody wants to, everybody gives you money just because you got Emmy awards, right? This is something where I actually think people are interested in going to the theater again. Maybe this is armchair sociology, but I think people are ready to go back to the movies again. And this isn't, Disney's not offering them anything that they want to see. I think Lilo and Stitch and Freakier Friday and
you think Freakier Friday is going to do okay?
Well, if the budget is in line with what Freakier Friday should be, yes, I think it'll be a profitable endeavor for them, and they can subsidize it before it goes on Disney Plus. I think there is a certain amount that is an appropriate amount to spend on putting something on Disney Plus. See, I'm crazy, and I think that Disney Plus should be a tier of Hulu, where you can overcharge to get the Disney content on top of Hulu, instead of this crazy thing where they try to say that Disney Plus is the streaming service you want. No, get the people that are really interested in Disney to pay a little bit more money to watch that Disney Vault content. And if you think that there's an audience for a $200 million show about lesbian space witches who conceive a child without a man, then maybe they'll stick around for the probably $200 million Marvel show about the superhero lesbian witches who also conceive a child without a man. I don't know why. It's weird. If I had a nickel for every time, it'd be weird, but I'd have 2 nickels. This is a company that should be making entertaining content for less than the big budget price. But somewhere along the line, they got addicted to the franchise model, and they just have to have everything be a huge blockbuster film. Warner Brothers would do 22 films to Disney's 6, and one of those 6 from Disney would flop. Now it's the other way around. Now there might be one big hit in 6 films, and then the rest are just disasters. That it creates a lot of fodder for channels like this one. but it would be better if we had entertaining movies to watch. Then the advertising money would flow and we would all be doing better. A lot of people seem to think that we thrive on the negativity. We're covering the negativity. but you know what? The more Disney would put into advertising on YouTube, the more money we would make. So it's a good cycle either way.
By the way, I'm seeing that Disney is going to attempt to keep Freakier Friday to a budget under $150 million. So
that's still way too much money for a movie like that. But, you know,
it's Disney's franchise and big budget addiction that is killing the theaters. There used to be a rhythm to when films got released. You knew that the summer was your big tentpole blockbuster. August, maybe your stinker or your surprise little sleeper. You know, the early fall was like maybe it was a couple Oscar contenders, something maybe someone forgot to put out. Holiday season were your big family movies. Then it was okay. Let's put up these, the movies that should really be really big Oscar contenders, and then you were killing time until you got to the holidays again. Everything really since 2012 has been giant tentpole after giant tentpole after giant tentpole, up to and including making shared universes out of things that have no business being shared universes. Moviegoers are fatigued. They're tired of the reboots, remakes. They're tired of the nonsensical tentpole. They miss the variety. I mean, I think we talked about it once before. When was the last time a rom-com came out? You know, we don't get comedies because of how the last 8.5 years have been. And now with the comic book movies kind of forcing itself to go the way of the Western, there is no big rush to run out there to go drop money in the movie theaters. And it is the theater chains and the theater owners who are paying the price for this. This is no different than watching the comic book store go the way of the dinosaur. The content is not there for the people who have the desire to want to spend the money. And it's not that they don't want to go. It's just you're not giving them anything that they can want to part their money with for. It's a shame. And it's kind of baffling that a lot of very smart people in very important roles have not figured out this very simple problem to remedy.
That's right. You know, I'm going to give Ron the final word on this. Ron, while we give no financial advice and we have not been giving any kind of financial advice, if Thunderdolts comes out and does poorly, do you think at that point the shareholders start to get a little bit nervous about where Disney's heading?
You know, to me, it seems like the regular shareholders probably are very nervous. You have, 65% owned by institutional shareholders. That's why I don't think you see the stock moving a whole lot. Again, I don't know financial advice, but it's just kind of been fortunately steady. Disney's creative ideology seems to be stuck back in 2021, and very evidently so. They're weird. Imagine a world in which a love story is a problematic thing. That is weird. I mean, like, I was thinking about. I watched the original Snow White, by the way, over the weekend. What a gorgeous film it was. I mean, for anybody to say that movie was made 90 years ago and it's dated because of it, it's a gorgeous film. The artistry is beautiful on it. The comedy with the dwarfs is hilarious. The story is cut short. There are story elements that I would love to have seen expanded on in a true live action remake that aren't there. So that it's kind of sad. I would have loved for a Snow White live action to be accurate and expanded on that story, but that's not what this recent one did. Thunderbolts, I don't see a lot of people talking about it. Maybe it's a good movie, maybe it's a bad movie. I just don't. There's not a lot of chatter about it. It's very, very quiet. You and I've actually discussed that before. There's like nobody cares. It's the same thing with Daredevil. Daredevil, not even that bad of a show, but I think that the audience for Daredevil was actually won over by Netflix. And so anybody who was watching that show on Netflix, they got to binge it because the entire season would drop at the same time. And it's a very different watch when you're waiting for a week to find out what gets to the next thing, because those Netflix Marvel shows were a pretty slow burn, but you could binge them. So that speed wasn't like week to week, it was hour to hour. And it's all just changed so much. Disney just doesn't care about their audience, which is really weird, because if all they would do is go back to caring about their audience, their bottom line would go way, way up. I think we see that with Lilo and Stitch. As you have mentioned, it's Chris Sanders coming back. It's Chris Sanders' baby. It's not really much of a Disney thing. Same thing with Avatar. That's a James Cameron thing. It's not about Disney. But if they got the right people to come back in, and it were all those types of people that actually care about the projects that they're making, I think that would make a huge difference. What I don't think makes a huge difference is the BS article like the one you showed, where people are just shilling for something that is clearly not going the right way. That's just lying at that point in time. And the public doesn't buy lying anymore. We have way too much information at our disposal to where we can actually see through that BS. Maybe 10 years ago we couldn't, maybe 20 years ago we certainly can now.
And put another one in the can, folks. A video of excellence has been birthed into existence, and you were there to witness it. Thank you for participating. We hope you had a good time. Folks, it's a great time anytime we get to share time with you, and we mean it. The only thing additional we ask, on the way out the door, consider clicking the like button. Share, subscribe, click it and stick it to those pesky algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. And oh, by the way, if you would be so kind, perhaps share this out on your favorite social media platforms. Folks, we've got all kinds of content coming your way. If you are interested in going even beyond all of that, well, there's a Pro Store, and you can always find those items directly below the video you're watching. The Pro Store, it's a cool place to check out for items that, well, definitely Disney and the rest are not going to sell you, but we're happy to do so. Until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
Why listen to music made by people and companies who really don't like you? Check out Vacation Radio today and prepare for all new content made by the people behind the WDW Pro channel. It's the place you need for all the music. That should be fun. Hundreds of songs, every genre you can imagine. Listen live on YouTube and enjoy a set list that's always sunny. It's Vacation Radio. What are you waiting for? Every WDW Pro video has a link to Vacation Radio in the video description. Try it out and subscribe today.